Welcome to another Zincast, and this is Pucking Around with Chris. And as you can tell, Chris is not here today. It is extremely hard to get schedules to line up. Between round one and round two, there's only one day off in these playoffs. So, hey, we couldn't make it work, but don't worry. He texted me his picks, and I will read them to you as we go over the round two predictions. But before we do that, let's see how we did in round one. We have the Colorado Avalanche versus the Nashville Predators, and the Avs took that series down in the sweep. I knew that, Chris knew that, you guys knew that, everyone knew that. That was the easiest call, I think, of the first round, and Chris and I both got that correct. Let us move on to the Calgary Flames versus the Dallas Stars. This was actually a lot closer. Oettinger for Dallas Stars just played amazing in net, but Markstrom played even better. Both Chris and I got that one correct. So let's move on to the Minnesota Wild Fleury versus the St. Louis Blues. Almost called them the LA Blues. St. Louis Blues. And this one is where me and Chris had a little bit different opinions. And it was the St. Louis Blues with Binnington in net. And if you go back and you listen to that West Coast prediction for round one, I picked the Wild, which obviously I got wrong. But I did say that I think Binnington, you're going to see Binnington in this series. And if he comes out and plays like the Binnington of, when they won the Cup 3 years ago, then the Blues have a shot. I also said this would go 7, so it was kind of a toss-up. But Chris did nail it on the head. He picked it right. I went with Fleury, and I got that wrong. But okay, so now it is 3-0, 2-1. And let's move on to my upset pick. The LA Kings over the Edmonton Oilers. But no, the Edmonton Oilers break through that first round. They get through it. But it took 7 games. I was this close to pulling off that upset. So, of course, Chris did pick the Edmonton Oilers. And he is 4-0 on the West Coast. And I went 2-2 on the West Coast. So let's shift gears to the East Coast. And let's start with the President Trophy winner, the Florida Panthers. They took on the Washington Capitals. And listen, Bobrovsky scares me in net for Florida, and you'll see who I picked for round two. But we both went with Florida, and they pulled it out in 6 games. So hats off to them because they did show up. And listen, that series was not close in any way, shape, or form. They had to come back from a couple of games where they were down in the games to actually win those games. So the Washington Capitals and Ovechkin out of the playoffs. The Carolina, and both Chris and I picked this, so we are 1-0 on the East Coast. Carolina Panthers versus the Boston Bruins. This was a black and blue series, heavy hitting. This series had everything, a ton of goals. But Carolina Hurricane, they did win in 7. The home team won every game in this series. I picked the Carolina Hurricane. Chris picked the Boston Bruins, and he suffers his first incorrect prediction, and it is 2-0 for me in the East, and he is 1-1. And let's move on to the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending champs, the 2-time defending champs, trying to three-peat, versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. I really thought Toronto had the shot here. They had a 3-2 series lead, then it was 3-3, and they went back to Toronto, and all they had to do was win at home, and they couldn't, and I could see some shakeups in that lineup next year. I picked Toronto Maple Leafs, but Chris picked the Lightning. He stuck with the weather. I should have stuck with the weather also. And now I have my first loss, so it is 2-1 in the East Coast versus 2-1 in the East Coast. And then the series that broke my heart, the New York Rangers versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. We both picked Rangers 5. We thought Shesterkin was just going to stonewall Pittsburgh. Little did we know that Shesterkin was going to look human. Also, that the Penguins would have to go to a third-string goalie. Penguins lost their trade deadline pick of Ricard Raquel to a concussion in the first game. They lost Dumoulin in the first game, who's their first pair defenseman, right next to Chris Letang. And then they even lost Crosby later on for pretty much a half a game and the next game. And Penguins had a 3-1 series lead out of all that and could not seal the deal. They blew two goal leads in game 5 and game 6. And then they blew a 1 goal lead in game 7. And that was it. The Rangers win. They cleaned house. And Crosby and Letang and Malkin and Rust, those boys, probably going to be broken up because Malkin, Letang, and Rust are all free agents. And Pittsburgh's going to need to rebuild at some point. So we'll see how that goes. But hey, maybe Fleury will come back. Anyway, that's topic for another video. But we both picked the Rangers. And the Rangers won. Yeah, it wasn't that easy, but they still won. Okay, so the final tally. Chris went 7-1, and I went 5-3. But hey, I came close with that Edmonton Oiler being upset. 7 games. That was interesting. Okay. All right. Let us move on to the round 2 predictions. Let me pull up Chris's text. So the St. Louis Blues versus the Colorado Avalanche. And again, me and Chris did not talk about these picks beforehand. So he texted me, but I already had made my picks. I have the Avs winning in 7. I think this is going to be a close series. I like the way Binnington has been playing. I don't think the Avs were tested at all against Nashville. I'm curious to see if that time off, that extended time off, remember they played 4 games and then they've been sitting down doing nothing. I mean, practicing, but doing nothing, not playing real hockey. So I think the Avs hold on, but I think it takes them a little bit to get their playing legs back under them. They're going to be coming up against a team that's firing on all cylinders. Remember, St. Louis, their power play is deadly. So I took the Avs in 7. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an upset, and Chris took the Avs in 5, so he's going Avs, and he thinks they're just going to steamroll or avalanche over the St. Louis Blues. All right, the next matchup we have is the Calgary Flames versus the Edmonton Oilers. And listen, this matchup I think comes down to Markstrom in net. He leads in the playoffs right now with a 1.53 goals against average. I think he's a much better goalie than Mike Smith. I think Edmonton was pushed to the limit against the Kings, and I think Johnny Hockey's going to show up. And yes, obviously Edmonton's got Connor McDavid, but I think that the Calgary Flames are going to win this one. I think it's going to be 6 games. And Chris agrees with me. Flames in 6. All right, let's move on to the East Coast. And we have the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Florida Panthers. This is a battle for Florida, okay? And, I mean, look, Bobrovsky in net scares me, right? I said that last time. He is not a proven goaltender. But, listen, they have the firepower. But Vasilevsky, I think he just got tested versus Austin Matthews and crew of the Maple Leafs. And it's just hard to pick against the defending champs at this point. Chris has them in, let me pull it up, in 7. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think that this is the one where it's going to be lopsided. I think it's going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm also going with the Lightning. But I think it's going to be Tampa Bay Lightning in 5. And here is the greatest stat that you could pull up of all playoff time right now. This is incredible. Since the 2020 postseason, okay, since that COVID postseason, okay, Tampa Bay Lightning are 17-0 in games following a loss. That means if they lose, they win the next game. So if they're down 1-0 in a series, it's going to be 1-1. If they're down 2-1 in a series, it's going to be 2-2. If they're down 3-2 in a series, it's going to be 3-3. Just ask the Maple Leafs. And they just got to win that one. They do not lose twice in a row in the playoffs since 2020, 17-0. That is crazy. And I think the Panthers, I don't think the Panthers are going to win that many. Like I said, I think Lightning in 5. I think they are moving into the conference finals, and they're gonna be a tough team to beat with that stat. I mean, it's gonna be crazy. All right, and then the final matchup that we have: the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New York Rangers. And look, let's actually see what Chris said. Chris said the Canes in 6. My whole thing here is, does Igor Shesterkin from the regular season show up? Because if he does, then this is going to be a hard-fought series, and I can push it to 7. But if the Igor that was playing against Pittsburgh Penguins shows up, then this is going to be a very, very quick series. Again, Chris said Carolina Hurricanes in 6. I am actually going to match that. I'm going to say in 6. I think we see flashes of the Igor and flashes of the Igor. But look, Carolina, they hit hard. They play hard. That Boston series, their bodies flying all over the place. They are not afraid. If someone is going to, if Trouba wants to chicken wing someone like he did Crosby, Carolina Hurricanes are going to jump all over him. I expect a lot of penalties, and I just expect their speed and their goaltending to overpower New York Rangers. I think New York Rangers are on a high right now after winning those 3 games in a row to beat the Penguins, and I think that they're going to come in a little bit too hot, and I think it's going to have a little bit of a letdown. Like, you celebrate when you win that Game 7 and that comeback, and now when you go in, you're not as up as you were. All right. Listen, I hope you all enjoyed this Zincast. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave in the comments your predictions, okay? And then we'll do this all again for round 3. We'll see how Chris and I did. We actually picked everyone the same this time. So I'm not going to gain any ground. That kind of sucks. I should change something. No, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to try to get it back in the conference finals and then in the Stanley Cup finals. But like I said, we'll try to we're not going to be putting out as much content with these videos because there's so much things happening. Like I said, I got weddings every week and so on. So if we can throw in some plays with Sean, we will. Maybe not this week, but we'll definitely update as the series go on. And again, I hope you're enjoying the hockey playoffs. You know I am. Even though my team is out, I'm still going to be watching. Have a good one, everyone.